You're listening to episode number 5, where we go back to Snows and talk to Clay Cowgill, their pit master and a friend of mine.
Hey, they call me the meat man. Y'all see me eat now. Hit on the meat man. Y'all see me eat now. I got jaws like a bear trap, a teeth like a razor. I made tack tongue with a sensitive taster. I was born out in Texas, called the land of beef. Never catch a muscle greener, showing the hell like a meat. I'm the meat man.
How you doing, Stover?
Doing great. How are you?
I'm good.
I'm hot.
Yeah, it's pretty warm in here.
It's heating up. We started recording in the morning and we're doing another one now.
Well, if you'd let us turn on the damn air conditioning, but you're afraid of all these adverse room noises.
Yeah, well, I know people aren't really huge fans of this. And if you are, you're a maniac.
Yeah, well, that's for you folks. We're trying to keep the recording as high as quality as possible.
We're also trying to go to high quality barbecue.
Oh, yeah. The best of the best.
Speaking of the best, this is our return podcast to Snows. It's one visit, but we cut it into 2.
Yeah, we hung out with Clay earlier in the morning and talked to him while he was having a cigarette and taking a break. There's a lot going on there, so unless you go there at really 3 or 4 in the morning, they're working.
You can tell a difference in our interviews sometimes before and after we've had food.
Yeah, we definitely talked to him before we had food.
And we have full bellies right now. We just had some In-N-Out.
Yeah.
It's going to
Some local California burgers.
Not everything we do can be Austin.
Right? Although P. Terry's is better.
Fire and shots.
Just to start the controversy, P. Terry's is better.
You heard the beef here first.
Yep.
Here's the start of our talk with Clay.
So we're here with Clay Cowgill, pit master at Snows Barbecue. Pretty busy day. It's been about, 3 weeks since Texas Monthly came out?
3 weeks. We've been super busy since.
Yeah, and pretty much it went from people lining up at 6 or 7 to people lining up at 3 a.m. today, right?
3 a.m. was the first today. Last 2 weeks, it's been about 5:30. So.
Yeah, we were here at 6 last week, so that was, I think we got 6th in line.
Yeah, you were late.
And I thought we were coming here early. We left at 7:15, and I was like, no, we'll still be okay. They open at 8. There'll be a little line. We'll get through it.
Right.
I get here, and the line is snaking not only through your property, but down into the street, down where we parked. It's amazing that so many people are drawn to the place.
Right. I was talking to Kerry today, and he said, it's just going to get earlier and earlier. So he called it. I thought, they're going to show up around 5 again, and then 7 guys showed up from Dallas at 3 o'clock. So.
You said they had an Xbox?
Yeah, they showed up, lawn chairs, had to set up their Yeti cooler, put up an Xbox, and then they were playing Super Mario Smash Brothers.
A little clarification there. They do not have Super Mario on an Xbox. It's been a while since Clay's played a game, I think. I love hearing these little bleeps and bloops occasionally when we hit a button or something goes weird in our audio recording.
Yeah, we're holding that recorder, so I guess we're going to have to wear a glove or something.
Yeah, anytime someone sounds like they turn into a robot, I swear they didn't.
Yeah, that was interesting too. We'll have to go back and figure out how we did that.
I think it's a glitch in the Matrix.
There's always one of those.
Speaking of another unique thing, here's what makes Snows special. Much like our little bleeps and bloops make our show special.
Y'all do a couple things that most people don't, which is chicken and pork steaks.
Right.
Is there a reason behind that, or?
I know Tootsie cooked that when she had her meat market in the 90s, and the way she does that are direct coals. So we'll let the oak wood burn down for a while, and then when she likes the coals, she'll put that underneath the meat, and it's just a different style of cooking. So you don't see it a whole often, but
It's a little direct indirect mix.
right.
Nice.
Right.
And you guys use a mop pretty heavily on the ribs and the chicken too as well, right?
Right, and the pork steak.
And the pork steaks?
So the only thing that doesn't get mopped is the sausage and the brisket.
Yeah, and if people come down to Snows, Clay will let you mop some ribs.
That's
if you
right.
catch them.
That's right.
You can be a junior pitmaster like
Right.
me. I got a sticker for mopping today.
Exactly, you get a junior pitmaster sticker.
You did a great job.
I'm holding in my hand. What am I holding, Yoni?
Your junior pitmaster sticker?
I still have it in my wallet. It says Junior Pitmaster, Snows Barbecue, best barbecue in Texas. Hey, that's like us, best barbecue. And
Yeah,
we're
exactly.
Lexington, Texas. And it's got a picture there of Tootsie, and is that Carrie?
Yeah, I'd say that's Carrie.
So now I'm an official Junior Pitmaster. So I think that means I'm hired. I can show up next Saturday and start working.
Yeah,
Nice.
they'll always use extra help.
In truth, they don't really need my help because here's Clay talking more on what makes them The best in Texas.
Now, y'all are a little different also because most places you can't, I mean, it's an open pit, so I enjoy it because the smoke and everything's kind of caught in, so you get to breathe a little smoke while you're eating the meat. As a pit master, is it nice to kind of have that open air setup?
Oh yeah, it's a great ambiance. I think people enjoy it. They love watching Tootsie, Carrie. It's fun to watch. You know, if you like meeting new people and enjoying talking to people, then it's a great place to come. So
Yeah, I was going to ask, does someone sponsor the keg or does Carrie just buy that?
Carrie buys it.
That's
Carrie
awesome.
buys it. Yeah.
That's a generous thing to do to your people.
Yeah. You know, I think last 2 weeks, I think the first keg was floated in an hour and a half. So people were definitely having fun.
Well, it's definitely, you all open at 8, so eating meat at 8 is one thing, and then having a beer with it, that's some real Texas vibe right there.
Yeah, it's pretty hard to beat.
It adds a different kind of tone to your day when you start it that way.
Well, I would say that I often end up driving home and taking a nap.
I think that's what I did too.
Saturdays is a good day to just eat some barbecue and hang out.
Oh yeah, and you're out in the sun, you're eating good food, you're kind of indulging a bit, and you're taking a road trip. I mean, that sounds like a great weekend to me.
Sounds good to me.
I know, you're there every week.
We're going to miss in a couple of weeks because we're going to Denver.
Yeah, what will you do?
I'm going to try some barbecue in Denver, see how that goes.
I think you're going to go into withdrawals and get the meat shakes.
Yeah, well, they close for 3 weeks a year, so, we have to get used to it.
Clay was talking about that keg, and it got me thinking just now. Do you have any advice to people on what kind of beer to maybe pair with certain cuts of barbecue or anything like that? I mean, you know tons about beer.
I think that the best beer to go with barbecue is probably a refreshing beer. I mean, you could drink something strong or heavy, but you want something that's kind of a break from the heavy richness of the meat. So to cut that, I would say a nice lager or pilsner, but I'm on a lager or pilsner kick right now completely.
I am too. I've moved away from IPA.
I like them. I just can't. That's why sessions are becoming more popular, because the whole craft beer explosion created all this IPA madness.
It is kind of madness because I was just drinking them back left and right. I mean, not to say at the same time, but every time I went out, I was like, IPA, IPA, IPA. It's kind of like when I was going to barbecue before until recently, it was all brisket, brisket, brisket. I get these ideas in my head and I stick with them,
Well, until the last decade or so, a good IPA didn't even really exist. I mean, Brooklyn had one, but you'd have to really know beer to find one. Now, every microbrewery has 10 kinds of IPAs, and there's some great ones. I mean, the Mosaic from Hops and Grain, or I should say a Pale Mosaic, is one of the top IPAs in town. I like Noisy Cricket from Friends and Allies. There's lots of great IPAs in Austin.
But the beer in their keg is not an IPA. That's good old-fashioned...
I think it's Bud Light.
Bud Light.
That's what it said on the cups, but I've never asked Carrie, so... I mean, I'll have one.
I love a Bud Light.
Yeah.
I really do.
But I'd rather bring some nice cans of something local.
I mean, it does kind of taste like aluminum, but like not in a bad way. I'm drinking this refreshy water. It kind of tastes like aluminum too, but I'm used to it.
I just love the taste of fresh ingredients. When you drink a beer that was made shortly before you drink it, it's crisp. It's nice. Plus, I have a bunch of Yeti gear, so I just keep my beer ice cold.
The new trend will just be chewing on hops directly.
That would be pretty intense. Hops in general are pretty intense. You'd be surprised how little hops go into a beer that's very hoppy.
Have you ever made beer?
Yeah.
How does it relate to, say, an all-night smoke? Like how much time and effort you have to put into it?
I mean, it takes hours to make beer if you make it the full mash way. It's work. I would say there's more cleanup from brewing beer than there is making barbecue.
Because you puked everywhere and you're shaking cans up and spraying them all over each other?
No, because you've got a pot you're boiling in, something you're putting a mash in. You've got all kinds of tubes and coolers, and there's probably a few $100s worth of equipment if you're making a good batch.
But how often do you yell, "Woo! Spring break!" when you're making beer?
I mean, unless you were smart enough to have some beer on hand, that beer's not going to be ready for a week, so you're not yelling anything.
That's what I've been doing wrong all these years.
There you go.
Just drinking that
It's called wort.
dirty rag dishwater kind of taste. It's a nice little soup.
Yeah.
Thankfully, the people at Snow's do not have the same ideas I have about food and beverages. They have a really good taste.
They've got high standards.
And that's because they put so much care into one of the most important things about barbecue, the fire. Here's Clay talking about the importance of weather and how it impacts the flames and the smoke.
We had a little rain today. That didn't slow you down, did it?
No, we had pretty much everything ready to go for the rain. So
Nice. But I guess if it's like heavy rains or cooler weather, you got to kick the fire up a notch, huh?
sometimes it depends on which way the rain is blowing. But most of the time, the most trouble is wind.
Gotcha.
So
So windy day is worse than a rainy day.
could be if the wind's blowing towards the firebox, then sometimes you got to watch it pretty heavily. If the wind's blowing at the firebox pretty hard, then sometimes it'll get too hot or it'll get too cold.
So the wind can actually kick the fire up a notch.
Oh yeah.
Here's another tip from Clay.
I would say just pay attention. Watch your fire. The biggest thing we do and what Carrie tells me is to pay attention to what I'm doing.
These are the people you really want to listen to when they're giving tips, the people that spend hours and hours and hours doing it.
Yeah, and I think anyone can tell you how they make the best barbecue in the world, but it's almost impossible for you to hear what they said and go out and actually make it. The work is the hard part. It's not, the process is easy. I could tell you the process, but the little nuances, the way that they do it in the end, that's almost impossible to recreate. That's why the top 50 barbecue places in Texas have completely different barbecue sometimes. Not necessarily completely different on the cuts. It's all brisket, but the brisket tastes different at every place, and they're all amazing.
Speaking of amazing, guess what time it is, Yoni?
Is it tri-tip time?
It's time for Yoni's Tri-Tips.
All right, folks, when you are going to be cooking barbecue for more than a few hours, you should always check the weather. Make sure you're not sitting out there in the rain. Make sure to manage your fire. I like to use an axe and a sawzall to chop up my wood so I'm not adding too much and spiking the temperature. And don't take your eyes off it. Have a good thermometer, or I have a few thermometers going. And make sure you watch that fire, because that fire is going to make your food great.
You better listen to the man. That was Yoni's Tri-Tips.
Thanks, Dover.
I'm digging those Tri-Tips.
I think we've got a lot to cover as far as ideas and thoughts around how to cook the best barbecue.
Well, we'll get there for sure. But before we do, I have a question for you, Yoni.
Sure.
Which day of the week do chickens hate most?
Which day?
Friday!
Nice.
Which is today.
Yeah, happy
Friday. So coming up on Monday, who are we talking to?
Yeah, so next Monday we'll be talking to Leonard over at Truth, one of Clay Cowgill's favorite barbecue spots, and it's just a little further east over in Brenham, Texas.
I was a big fan as usual. It was great.
Yeah, and those guys were super sweet. They treated us well, and they've got a pretty long list of sides, which, I don't mind.
Can I brag a bit? What place were we in line?
Oh, we were first in line there.
First in line, baby.
The nice thing about Truth is it's a little bit out there, so you, in fact, will talk to more people from Houston than you will from Austin in that line. And we got there right around 9:30 or 10, which was just early enough to be first in line.
It was worth it.
Yeah, there was actually a woman about to leave who'd been talking to them from Australia who was doing a In-Flight magazine article, I believe.
Shout out to our Australian listeners.
Right? Shout out to Australia. I know y'all love barbecue. I follow a ton of pitmasters in Australia.
We will not make the shrimp on the Barbie joke, I swear.
Yeah.
That didn't count.
Unnecessary. Well, you have to say it in the badly American version accent.
I'm just remembering the 80s Cheech Marin movie, Shrimp on the Barbie.
That's an
Shrimp
actual movie?
Excuse me, Shrimp in the Barbie.
I'll have to look that one up.
He of the titular shrimp variety.
But yeah, Clay loves Truth Barbecue. And when I first started going to Snow's, me and the lady were a little shy. But Clay was the first one to notice that we'd been there for a few weeks in a row. And we just started hanging out after that. We pretty much sit right in front of Clay whenever we're at Snow's, because he's always got an interesting story or something fun to talk about.
He's the kind of guy when you meet him, you just want to be friends with him.
Yeah. He's sweet, and he's a master at his craft.
And he's gracious, too. He talks all the time about all the barbecue he loves all around.
I would say that he's the most traveled of everyone that works there. He really goes around. He comes to Austin I've met him for coffee a few times, and he really likes to poke his head around and see who else is cooking out there and what they're cooking.
And speaking of tips, he said he would share us some in the future.
Oh yeah, Clay will be back on the show a bunch.
But before then, make sure to listen and subscribe. New episodes every Monday.
Download them on your phone so that you don't have to worry about data charges when you're out and about.
And let's talk ratings for a second. You got your 1, you got your 2, you got your 3, you got your 4, you got your 5. Which is the 5. This is Best Barbecue. What else are you going to rate it, you
We're
dingus?
looking for 5 stars.
5 stars, please.
5 stars.
We'll rate you. Trust us, we'll rate you.
Yeah. We'll give you 5 stars on everything you do.
You don't know where or when, but we will rate you.
And always check us out. Instagram.
At
Facebook.
Best Barbecue.
And I think it's at Best Barbecue on everything.
It is not on Facebook. It's facebook.com/Best Barbecue Show.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And then Instagram and Twitter are both at Best Barbecue.
That's right. Don't get it twisted.
And bestbarbecueshow.com. Where you can find links to all that.
That's right. Just say, let's try it right now. Hey, Google.
Are you trying to okay Google it?
I was trying to turn on your phone. Okay, Google, what's the Best Barbecue Show?
I found a few places within 2.6 miles.
It better be here.
It said Browns and Terry Black's.
This is the one I'm talking. Browns. We got to go there someday. I've been hearing really good things. My girlfriend loves it. It's her favorite.
It's on the list.
Let's do it. So you'll hear that and more coming up on Best Barbecue. Check us out on the web at bestbarbecueshow.com.
We'll see you next week.
Hey, they come in and meet man.
This has been a production of Glencliff Media, produced right here in the heart of Texas.